So today, what we're going to talk about fractions and decimals. We're going to look at converting fractions to decimals and decimals to fraction, vice versa. And then we're also going to talk about rounding, because that's something that we're going to be doing all the time.
Do you mind if I do?
No, go. Yeah, go. Eat your lunch. So it says here, let's get started. A common way to use fraction in real world is to convert a fraction to a decimal number. So decimals are popular as they are easier to type into calculators. Money is expressed using decimal numbers, we know that. And the amount represented by the decimal number is more easily understood than for most people. So any digits, so these are the decimals. So each digit are actually part of it's a place value for this. So going to the left of the decimal are ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, and so on. Okay. So that's on the left side. On the right side, these are the tenth. So tenth is a 1 decimal place. One decimal place. When we talk about hundreds, that's 2 decimal places. Thousands would be 3 decimal places. And then 10,000s would be 4. And then 100,000s would be 5 decimal places. Okay, so this one tells you the place values. So any digits after a decimal point is a number representing part of a whole, just like fractions. So here, tenths, that means how many out of 10. Like, if this is hundreds, that means out of 100. If it's thousands, that means out of 1,000, and so on. So the rightmost digits place value shows which denominator to use when converting to a fraction. We'll talk about that in a second. Digits to the left, decimals, are treated as whole numbers. So anything to the left would be a whole number. So let's take a look at example number 1. Convert the following decimal numbers to fractions. Okay, so we know 0.5. What would that be? 1 over 2. Okay. Well, we know 0.5 is 1 over 2, but how do we know it's 1 over 2? Okay, so here we go.
5 divided 10.
5 into tenths, yeah. So this one here, the place value is tenths. Tenths with a th at the end. Tenth. So that means what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by 10 tenths. So 0.5. And what's the denominator when there's nothing? When there's nothing, it's 1 times, because it's a 10th place, we're going to go 10 over 10. So what would that be? 0.5 times 10 is 5. 1 times 10 is 10. Okay, well, I don't see 1/2 there. Where is the 1/2 coming from? When we simplify, when we reduce. So we know there's a common factor here, 5. So divide that by 5. How many 5s fit into 5? 1. Okay, this is reducing. 1. How many 5s fit into 10? 2. So that becomes 1/2. 1/2. Okay, is that good? So that's how you would change a decimal into fraction. Now you look at this one. Next example, that was not so bad. 0.72. Okay. The way you would actually properly say this would be 72 hundredths. Right? Well, we're just so used to like 0.72, but the real proper way of saying this is 72 hundredths. Okay? So they go as far as hundredths. So the lowest is hundredths with a THS at the end. Okay, so if it's hundredths, what we're gonna do is we're gonna multiply by 100 over 100. So 0.72, there's nothing in the denominator, so we know it's 1 times 100 over 100. Okay, so what would that be? 72 times 100 is 72. 1 times 100 is 100. So type in 72 divided by 100 on your calculator. 72 over 100 on your calculator. 0.72, right? So it's 0.72. Everybody got 0.72. Is there a way to write that in a different way?
86 over 50.
36 over 50, and how did you manage to do that?
Mine try to.
Okay, so Joseph,
By 4.
yeah, so Joseph said, oh, I can divide both of these by 2. Okay, so if I divide it by 2, how many 2's fit in here?
36.
36. How many 2's fit in 100?
50.
50. Now you get 36 over 50. Oh, why did I do 36 over 50? Okay. Can I, oh, sorry, you can't see that. Can I go on further, or is that it?
18 over.
Okay, and how did you manage to do that?
I divided 72 by 40, or by 4.
By 4, okay. So, yeah, you could go directly to dividing it by 4, or you can go divided by 2. You realize, oh, I could still go on a little bit more. Divide it by again, so that becomes what? 18 over 25. And the answer is 18 over 25. Okay, go ahead on your calculator and type in 18 divided by 25. Did you get 0.72? Yeah, okay. So 72 out of 100 is 0.72. If you type in 36 out of 50, that's also going to be 0.72. And if you go 18 out of 25, that's also 0.72. Or 72 hundredths with a TH. Okay. So far, so good. Let's try one. Another one. What's the lowest place value in here? Thousandth, right? So tenth, hundredth, thousand. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna multiply by 1,000 over 1,000. So this one is thousandth. So 0.255. The denominator is 1 times 1,000 over 1,000. Okay, so 0.255 times 1,000 is going to be 255 over 1,000. Okay, can I leave my answer like that? Is that my final answer?
No. By
By
5.
divided by 5. So you realize that, oh, 5 is a common factor. 5 is a common factor between 255 and 1,000. How many 5s fit into 255?
51.
51. And how many 5s fit into 1,000?
200.
200. Okay, so my answer is 51 over 200. Okay, Now, can I go on further? Can I reduce that further? No? That's it?
Yeah.
Why? Because I love it when you say it, no common factor. You're using the right terminology, no common factor. Excellent. What's this one? The lowest is 10th, hundredths, right? Hundredths. Okay. So why don't you figure that out on your own?
725.
Okay, so that negative 35 over 100, that's what you got?
725.
Okay. Can I leave it alone like that? I can go lower. Yeah.
Negative 7 over 20.
Yeah, so we can reduce it by negative 7 over 20. Okay, so type in negative 7 divided by 20, or 7 divided by 20. On your calculator, can you type in 7 over 20? Did you get 0.35? Yeah, and then there's a negative at the front anyway. Okay, what would this be? Hundredth, right? Hundredths, yeah? What would you do? Okay, what is this what you got?
By 5.
And by 5. Okay, so can you divide by 5?
305.
305, so negative 305 divided by 20.
Yeah.
Okay,
5 again.
and then 5 again could be reduced. Okay, what would that be?
61. 61.
Negative
61.
61 over
4.
4. Can you go further?
Yeah.
Maybe go to negative 15 or negative 15 quarter. So you get the whole number.
Okay, can I go on further with this? It's going to be negative. This is called an improper fraction. So if you divide, it's going to be negative 15 and 2/4, 1/4. So negative 15 and 1/4. Oh, this is interesting. Is there another strategy? Divided by 25. Oh, here to get to that part. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So, here's the other strategy. That works. That works really well. Okay, so this one here, negative 15, that's whole integer, right? It's an integer, so 15. And 0.25. And 0.25. Well, 0.25 in here is the same thing as, are you okay? This is not right. A quarter, right? So here, this is where you get times it by 100. So the negative, remember we keep it alone for now. And that applies for everything. So negative 15 and 0.25, that's the same thing as 0.25 over 1 times 100 over 100. So 15 plus 25 over 100. So negative 15 and 1/4. So 15 negative 15 and 1/4. So for this one, we can just figure out the fraction for this, the 25.25, to get that answer. So that's a different strategy, different approach in doing that. This one here always works, and then you don't have to worry about any other strategy, but also expand your strategy. Example number 2 says here, convert the following fractions to decimal. So we're going to go the other way around when you have a fraction changing into a decimal. How would you change this into a decimal?
0.25.
You're going to divide. So 1 divided by 2 would be
0.25.
0.5.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Elsie.
Mhm.
We have Samantha Sumner.
She's supposed to be here, but she's not here right now.
Okay.
Okay.
If you can see her, can you send her in the office, please?
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so 7/10. What would that be? 7 divided by...
0.01.
What would this be?
0.65.
So the negative, we'll just leave it as negative there.
Negative 0.65.
13 divided by 20 is negative 0.65.
5.
What would this be?
0.
Negative 0.065. Now, we could do this using our calculator. To get to this, the other strategy would be to do the long division and keep going until you get the terminating, or if you get the repeating decimal. Okay. So, rounding. Oh, this is fun. So rounding and decimal. So it says when converting from fraction to decimals, you will often need to get more than 2 decimal places in your answer. You might. Rounding estimates your answer to make it shorter. To round a number, inspect the digit to the right of the space you want. If it's 5 or greater, increase by 1. If not, leave the digits alone. Okay. So here, let's start with this one, rounding. 17.654. We're going to round it to the nearest tenth. Okay, so how many decimal is the nearest tenth? 1 decimal. Okay, we're going to go 1 decimal right here. Okay. To round it properly to 1 decimal place, we're going to go look at the next number. Okay. If the next number is 5 and up, you round up 1, you add 1 to it. So that would be 17.7. Okay. This one here, rounding it to 2 decimal places. 2 decimal places is here. You look at the next one, the third. Okay. If it's 5, if the next number is 5 and up, you would round up 1. So that would be 38.13. So if this circled 1, the next one is 5 and higher, you round it up 1. Okay, nearest tenth. Nearest tenth. How many decimals nearest tenth? 1 decimal, right? So 1 decimal. I need to go 1 decimal. You look at the next one. Okay? So 5 and higher. 5 and higher, that would be 456.9. You increase by 1. What about this one? Nearest hundredth.
0.3.
Okay. Nearest hundredth. That means 2 decimal. 2 decimal places. 2 decimal places right here. You look at the third one. Okay. If the next one is 5 and up, you increase by 1. So do we need to increase by 1? No. So you go 0.33. Is everybody okay? Yeah? Oh, this one here is the nearest whole number. Nearest whole number. If it's a whole number, means no decimal. So what's the nearest whole number? Nearest whole number. So you look at the next one. Oh, I see 5 and up. So you would increase it to 15. 15. Nearest tenth.
15.0.
Oh, are you sorry?
Yeah, 15.0.
No, this one nearest whole number. When you put, yeah, that means no decimal. Yeah, no decimal. So yeah, if you put 15.0, that's actually rounding it off to the nearest tenth.
So, whole number is that 0?
No number. No number. When you say nearest whole number, that means there's no decimal after. That's a good one. Okay, next one. Nearest tenth. That's 1 decimal. So 1 decimal, you look at this one. 15.9. Can I give you one more example? Yes. Okay, I'll give you one. $15.999. Round to the nearest hundredth. How many decimals nearest hundredth? Hundredth is 2 decimal places, right? So we go 2 decimal places. 2 decimal places right there. That's my third one. Look at the next. So
16.
I'm supposed to round this up to add 1 to it. Okay. So what would it be?
16.
16, but
Yeah.
okay, if I just leave it to 16, that's not 2 decimal places.
1 to 0.
Point
0.
0, that's only 1 decimal place.
0.
0, 0.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that okay? Because this 9 will bump it to the next one, which is 10. And then this 10 will bump it, this one to 10 as well. So it's going to be 16.00. If you write down 16, that's not 2 decimal places. So it's 16.00. That's a good one. I like that one. Okay, example 3. Convert the decimals with a calculator using long division and round to the nearest hundredth. Okay. If you do 1/3, what would that be in a decimal value?
0.33.
Yeah, so you're gonna get 0.33333. This is called a non-terminating decimal. Non-terminating means it doesn't stop, right? It's gonna keep on going 3333. But we're gonna round it off to the nearest hundredth, which is 2 decimal places. 2 decimal places. We're gonna go look at the next one, the third. So are we gonna round it up to 34 or leave it as 0.33? Leave it. Okay. Good. What about 2/3? What would that be?
0.66.
6. Okay, again, this is going to be non-terminating decimal. Non-terminating means it doesn't stop. So 2 decimal places would be right there. I'm going to look at my third. That's my deciding factor. So this is 5 and up. That means I'm going to round this up 1 up. So 0.67. Okay, what would this be? $2.125. What would that be in 2 decimal places?
2.1.
2.13. So 2 decimal places, you look at the third, enough to boost it 1. Next one.
Negative 3.22.
-3.22. Is that after you I don't know the answer, so okay, sure. Okay, next one. What would this be? How would you do this on your calculator? Mm-hmm.
Plus 3 divided by 8.
Okay, that's a good strategy. So what did you just do there, Billy?
We did it every single
Okay, so that becomes 59/8, and then
51 divided by 8.
is equal to
7.375.
7.375, and then if we were rounded off to 2 decimal places, what would it be? 7.38. Okay, excellent. Anybody has a different strategy? Anybody has a different strategy? That's a good one. You have a strategy, Delvina?
I just divided the 3 and 8.
Mm-hmm. That's a strategy, right? Good. And thanks for speaking up because so this is what Delvina said, 7 3/8. Well, she knows that this is going to be a whole number, right? So 7. And then what she did is she divided 3 divided by 8. What's 3 divided by 8? Will give us 0.375, right? Yeah, and then 7.38. Anybody have a different strategy? Those are good ones. Different. They're totally different strategy. We got the same answer. That's it. Okay, last but not the least, how would you do this? Okay, leave the negative alone. you could change it into an improper fraction. So 9 times 5 is 45 plus 7, 52 over 9. So negative 52 divided by 9 is 5.77777. So it's negative 5.78. Okay. Good. And if you were to do the Venus strategy, you would go 5, and then she goes 7 9ths would be 7777. It'll be 0.77777. So it's going to be 5.778. We just put the negative in the front. Oh, sure. Oh, you're here. Sure, find a seat somewhere. So first seat would be right over there, right beside Samhar. Angel, yes. Okay, nice to meet you. Okay, I'll get you your stuff. Okay, so is that good? So today we learned about converting decimal to fraction, fraction to decimal, and rounding. Those are the 3 things. Okay, good. Now, there's an assignment 7 for you to work on. But I did mention earlier, you can work on that one. It's not that long. I mentioned earlier too that I will give you the hand-in assignment, and then we're not quite finished with the booklet, but at least you can get that hand-in assignment going and at least get started. Okay? So either you work on this one or work on the hand-in assignment. Oh yeah, you'll get it today. Well, like everybody else. Yeah, sorry. Is that good?